Hey guys! Let's talk about idioms which describe character and personality. Armchair critic. An armchair critic is someone who offers advice but never shows that they could actually do any better. For example, he thinks I'm wasting my time at demonstrations and I think he's an armchair critic. Pain in the neck. An irritating, annoying person. For example, he's such a pain in the neck. Always just when I'm going home, he gives me some extra work to do. A creature of habit. This is your idiom if you're a routine lover, thriving on doing the same things at the same time on a daily basis. For example, I'm a creature of habit. I don't really like trying new foods. A people person. An outgoing person who gets along with people really well and is a good listener. For example, Tom is enthusiastic and positive and he is a people person. Go-getter. This is the idiom for those of you who are motivated or inclined to excel. A go-getter is one who strives to achieve success or improvement. For example, you made the first move again? You are a go-getter. A party animal. Someone who likes to attend parties often. For example, are you going out again tonight? You are such a party animal. Jack is out every Friday and Saturday. If there was a party on, he'd be out on a Sunday as well. He is such a party animal. Happy camper. A person who is always happy and satisfied. We often use happy camper in the negative. For example, the apartment was much smaller than I expected, and I was not a happy camper. He's finally got that promotion. He is a real happy camper. Cheapskate. A mean person who doesn't like spending money. He was always a cheapskate even though he was earning $200,000 a year. He is a cheapskate when it comes to his clothes. He's never bought a new shirt or a new pair of trousers in all the years that I've known him. Know-it-all. A person who acts like they know everything. There's one of them in each family and office, and they're unmistakable. I am the word attitude will make them easy to spot. For example, Dad was never a know-it-all, he just wanted me to improve my attitude. Nerd. Someone who is very interested in science or technology, particularly in computers. For example, he spends all weekends at his laptop, he is such a nerd. Life and soul of the party. Someone who is energetic and good fun during social occasions. For example, it was a great night, Jim was life and soul of the party. Live wire. This is the right nickname for that friend of yours who's always lively and full of enthusiasm. The idiom refers to a person who is very active, both mentally and physically. For example, Sam Rockwell has a reputation as a live wire, an American firecracker. Dipstick. A person who seems to be stupid. For example, I don't know whether to laugh or be angry at his behavior. What a complete dipstick. Down to earth. Someone who is practical and close to reality, who accepts other people as equals. For example, despite his wealth, he was a down-to-earth man. He was very generous and had a kind heart. Larger than life. Someone who is more exciting or interesting than other people. For example, all who knew him would agree that his personality was larger than life, he was a joy to be around. Dark horse. Someone who has greater abilities than he shows or than other people are aware of. For example, I didn't know Nick could play the guitar so well. He is a real dark horse. Wimp. A weak person, someone who lacks confidence. For example, I always avoid confrontations, I am such a wimp. Early bird. A person who wakes up, arrives to work, before the usual time. This expression comes from the English proverb, the early bird catches the worm. For example, my mom is the early bird in our family, she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Golden boy. A winning person that everyone is fond of. For example, Ray was a golden boy of English football. Rough diamond. Someone who seems impolite or is not well educated, but who has a kind heart and good character. For example, Mitchell may have been a rough diamond, but he was absolutely loyal to his employer. Slave driver. Someone who makes other people work really hard. For example, my boss is such a slave driver, I had to work 2 weekends in a row. Cool as a cucumber. Someone who doesn't get upset, excited, or anxious very easily. For example, don't worry, Sam's there. He's as cool as a cucumber. He'll handle this problem, no problem at all. Just tell him what you want. He'll get it sorted. Busybody. A person who expresses great interest in other people's private lives. For example, my next-door neighbor is a real busybody. Smart cookie. Somebody who has got a strong personality or who is quite smart. For example, Katie is such a smart cookie, she can make any project a success. Just give him any particular problem, he'll get it sorted out in no time at all. He's a real smart cookie. Scrooge. A miserable person who hates spending money. This expression comes from a character in A Christmas Carol novel by Charles Dickens. For example, my last boss was a real Scrooge, for years we never received a Christmas bonus. Daydreamer. Someone who is having dreamlike thoughts when they should be focusing on the present. For example, I've always been a bit of a daydreamer in school. Skiver. Someone who is absent from school or work without a good reason. We can also say, someone who is pulling a sickie. For example, he didn't bother to turn up for work on Monday, he is a skiver. Clock watcher. Someone who has no interest in the current activity, and keeps watching the time. For example, I hate to be a clock watcher, but I can't wait to get out of here. Creep. A nasty person. Someone who is trying to impress higher authority. For example, what a creep this guy is. Laid back. A relaxed person who doesn't get stressed or upset easily. For example, our managing editor was a laid-back person, but he's recently begun snapping at the employees. Have a screw loose. Someone who is slightly mad or eccentric. For example, Jane's aunt obviously had a screw loose, just by the way she spoke. Big mouth. Someone who is not able to keep a secret. For example, Sarah will tell everybody, she's such a big mouth. Nothing I tell her is going to be a secret. Full of yourself. Someone who is too pleased with themselves. For example, Jack was always full of himself and liked to pick on his friends. Bossyboots. Someone who likes to dominate other people and often tells them what to do. For example, she is a bit of a bossyboots and always wants to get things perfect. My daughter was a real bossyboots when she was young. She used to give my 2 sons a terrible time. Lamebrain. A foolish person, a slow thinker. For example, the lamebrains in the marketing department continually make mistakes. Moaning Minnie. A person who complains a lot about insignificant things. For example, oh, stop being a moaning Minnie. Just concentrate on your homework. Wet blanket. A person who ruins other people's fun by staying pessimistic and complaining all the time. For example, Katie is so negative about everything, she is such a wet blanket. Chatterbox. A person who talks a lot. For example, my son always gets detentions in school for talking in class, he is such a chatterbox. Crank. A person whose behavior or way of life is regarded as strange. We can also say an oddball, fish, bird, or a weirdo. For example, Peter never eats green vegetables, he thinks they make him sleepy. He is such a crank. Rolling stone. A person who moves from place to place, job to job, without staying anywhere long. For example, my brother was a rolling stone until he met his wife. Eager beaver. Someone who's always willing to do something. For example, when he was at school, he used to run home, get his homework done, get his football kit, get out and train. A real eager beaver. Cold fish. Someone who has very little emotions, who is regarded as hard-hearted and unfeeling. For example, John said nothing at all when I told him about my problems. He is a cold fish. Lone wolf. Someone who prefers his own company and does not like socializing. We can also say a lone bird. For example, Jack became a real lone wolf since his wife passed away last year. He never goes out.